After Kim Jong-il took over, he had Jan executed. And not just with a bullet, reports say he was literally blasted apart with an anti-aircraft missile. But when Fujimoto got there and took a look, he realized Kim's finest liquor collection was basically a Costco liquor store. Hi everybody, I'm Tony. Last time we talked about how Kim Jong-il's personal chef built a surprisingly close bond with the supreme leader, and all the wild, over-the-top moments that they have shared together. In this episode, we'll dive into what life was really like inside North Korea's so-called royal court, from secret wine cellar to million-dollar grocery runs, and how Kim Jong-il used over-the-top extravagance to keep his inner circle loyal and entertained. At first, Fujimoto had told himself this was just temporary. His goal was simply to make some money and just go back to Japan to enjoy the rest of his life with his family. But after spending so much time living it up in the palace with the general, Fujimoto had pretty much forgotten about his wife and 2 kids back in Japan. Instead, he found himself falling for a young, beautiful North Korean singer named Jong-il. Fujimoto first met Jong-il at a banquet, where she was performing as a singer. The moment he saw her, he fell for her instantly. If it was in Japan, he would have asked out for a date. But things just don't work like that in North Korea, especially when you are in Kim's inner circle. In this book, Fujimoto repeatedly emphasized that Kim Jong-il was a control freak. Everyone around him needed his permission to basically do anything, including get married or even just to fall in love with someone. In order to approach her, he needs to first get a permission from the general. But there's another problem. Despite Yang Jong-il was a singer, she was technically considered as part of Kim Jong-il's pleasure squad. In other words, she belongs to the general. But in his own words, Yang was simply too gorgeous to pass up. So Fujimoto took the risk and told Kim Jong-il that he liked her. Surprisingly, the general was quite excited and said, "No problem at all, buddy. I also think you and her would be a good match. You just need to divorce your Japanese wife first, and I will help you to marry her." So why was Kim Jong-il so enthusiastic? Because once Fujimoto married a North Korean woman, his temporary stay would very much likely turn into a permanent one. So at that point, it seems Kim Jong-il genuinely saw Fujimoto as a friend, someone he wanted to keep around. So letting him marry was a way to anchor him in North Korea. But Fujimoto's divorce came with a massive price tag. He had to pay 48 million yen, which was over 200,000 at the time. That was an outrageous amount of money in the 1980s. But Kim Jong-il offered to cover the entire thing and paid it off right away. And this is the sad part about Kim Jong-il. As I mentioned in the last episode, this person does not have a friend, because as a dictator, they cannot trust anybody. They think people around him is either plotting against them or sucking up for power. To me, when I'm reading this book, when he hung out with this chef, he really felt happy, right? He really felt something that he has never felt before, which is friendship. So that's why he's willing to do all those just to make Fujimoto stay. This move even stirred up some murmur in the palace, but Kim was just brushed it off, saying, "You guys don't need to worry about this. It's just pocket change." And sure enough, for the king of North Korea, $200,000 really was nothing. In my personal opinion, I think $200,000 is really cheap for him to maintain the friendship. And Fujimoto's marriage story was quite unique, to say the least. Instead of Fujimoto who popped the question, Kim first personally went to Yoon and said, "Fujimoto is 20 years older than you, technically old enough to be your dad, but he's interested in you. What do you think?" At first, she wasn't exactly thrilled. I mean, she was a young and attractive woman in her 20s. How could she be attracted to a chubby guy in his 40s and who wasn't particularly good looking? But hey, the supreme leader was asking. So she replied very carefully, I think I can accept him maybe 50%. And a month later, Kim asked her again, "How do you feel about him now?" She said, "Around 60%. 2 weeks after that, Kim asked her once more. She said, "About 70%. Kim said 70%? All right, that's good enough. And just like that, the wedding was set on the calendar. So Kim's twisted taste was on full display during the wedding. On the wedding day, Kim got Fujimoto completely drunk until he passed out cold. Then at 11 p.m., someone from Kim's staff gave him a call. "General Kim wants you to come over and hang out." Fujimoto said, "Hey, I'm exhausted. Can we not do this?" The guy was like, "It's a direct order from the general." So what else he can do? Fujimoto got himself together and went. Kim saw him and asked, "So, how is your marriage life treating you?" Fujimoto replied, "It's great, couldn't be happier." Then Kim leaned in and asked, "Do you know what's different about you now?" Before Fujimoto could respond, Kim just told him, "Just take off your pants." Confused as we are, Fujimoto obeyed And that's when he realized everything down there had been completely shaved. Kim bursted into laughter and said, "Do you know what this is? It's a North Korean tradition. While you were passed out, we shave you clean." And by the way, there is no such tradition in North Korea. That was Kim's idea of a practical joke, a drunken shave delivered as a wedding gift. And hey, Kim Jong-il wasn't the only one with the weird hobbies. His brother-in-law, Jang Song-thaek, the guy who used to be North Korea's second-in-command, had his own share of bizarre habit too. According to Fujimoto, if you ever went to swimming with Jang, you would better not stand in front of him, because the guy had a strange compulsion to yank down people's swim trunk. Oh, and by the way, Jang didn't stick around forever. After Kim Jong-un took over, he had Jang executed. And not just with a bullet, reports say he was literally blasted apart with an anti-aircraft missile. If that sounds wild, trust me, there is a lot more. We don't have the time to dive into those in today's episode, but I will save the rest for a full episode on Jang Song-thaek. So in 1988, Fujimoto officially entered the inner circle of North Korea's royal court. From that point on, he got a front row seat to the life of Kim Jong-il, and to witness how extravagant the North Korean regime really was. And here's the irony. One of the poorest countries in the world had a luxury so over the top, it completely blew the mind of a chef from a developed country. North Korea had a network of secret palaces. On paper, they were called guest houses as a humble name. But in reality, they were full-blown luxury compounds built for exclusive use of Kim's family. According to Fujimoto, he visited over a dozen of Kim Jong-il's secret palaces during his time in North Korea. And these so-called guest houses were not just palaces, they were like a luxury resort on steroids. Imagine a huge compound with ski slopes, beachfront villas, indoor water parks, horse racing tracks, golf courses, casinos, fine dining restaurant, and private movie theaters. In fact, the largest movie theater in the entire country was not in the capital. It was tucked away inside one of these royal compounds. And all of it built for the exclusive use of the Kim family and their guests. And on top of that, each palace was heavily guarded by elite security units. If a palace was by the coast, there would be a mini submarine fleet stationed nearby just in case things went south and the ruling family needed to escape. Inside the compounds, luxury cars were everywhere, but not just for show. Fujimoto recalled being stunned when he saw a brand new Mazda RX-7 parked casually at one of these palaces. Because this car was just came out at the time, it was very expensive, costing around 3 million yen in Japan. He asked why such an expensive sports car was just sitting there. Kim Jong-il shrugged and said, "Oh, that one? That's just our palace shuttle." Since the compound is so massive that you can fit 10 Yankee stadiums into it, those sports cars were used as glorified golf carts to shuttle the Kim family from the front gate to the destination that they want to go. So you can think about the size of this compound is like a Las Vegas Strip. You probably need to drive 25 to 30 minutes from the beginning of the strip to the end of the strip. So same deal with those luxury compounds. Now let's talk about the general's favorite food, because nothing reveals a man's taste quite like what he puts on his plate. Kim Jong-il loved Chinese cuisine. And no, not the Orient chicken you grab from the Chinese takeout place. His go-to dish is called shark fin rice. In Chinese, we call it 鱼翅捞饭. It's shark fin simmered in rich broth, poured over rice like a gravy. Shark fin is extremely expensive because each shark has only a small amount of it. But it's not just expensive, eating shark fin is also incredibly cruel, since humans don't eat the rest of the shark's body. Fishermen often just cut off the fins and toss the shark back into the ocean, where it slowly dies because it can no longer swim. But Kim Jong-il, the degenerate dictator, didn't care about any of that. This is a man who didn't even care about his own people starving in the streets. Why would he care about the life of a shark? As long as he ate well, that's all that mattered. He usually paired it with abalone, another ultra-expensive delicacy. And when he was really feeling himself, he would eat this combo 2 or 3 times a week. Kim Jong-il was famously known as a man with the most refined palate in all of Pyongyang. One time, Fujimoto made sushi for him. Kim took a bite and made a face. Something's off. Fujimoto was puzzled. He double-checked everything, right? The fish was fresh, the rice was perfectly cooked, nothing seemed wrong. So he told Kim, "Hey General, maybe you just drank too much. Your taste buds might be numb. Just rinse your mouth and you'll be fine." Kim said nothing, just gave him a look and went quiet. And later that day, Fujimoto retraced his steps and noticed that he had accidentally used 10 grams less sugar than usual. Yep, just 10 grams. And in that moment, Fujimoto was genuinely impressed. Holy crap, The general's palate is legit, he thought. I gotta give it to him. He can be a good chef with his amazing palate. North Korea is one of the most closed-off countries in the world. So here is the question. Where did Kim Jong-il get all these luxury ingredients? By this point, Kim had fully trusted Fujimoto. He personally tasked him with sourcing food from around the world. And when I say sourcing, I don't mean placing an order. I mean Fujimoto literally got on a plane and flew to wherever the ingredient came from. If the general wanted mango from Thailand or wine from France, he would hop on a plane and go get it. But there is one problem. North Korea was under international sanction. Pyongyang couldn't exactly receive FedEx deliveries from Tokyo or Paris. So how did they pull it off? There are two middle hubs that they use, which are Beijing and Moscow. If something was purchased in Tokyo, it would be sent to Beijing first, then quietly forward to Pyongyang. So through this backdoor pipeline, the Supreme Leader's table was stocked with the world's finest delicacies, while his people lived under strict rations. So where exactly did Fujimoto source all this food? So if Kim wanted caviar, Fujimoto would fly to Iran or Russia. For seafood, especially tuna, it had to be Tokyo. He would head straight to Tsukiji market. It is also now a hotspot for tourists. Once the fish was secured, it would be shipped to Pyongyang through Beijing. Beyond Japan or Russia, he also traveled across Southeast Asia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia for fresh tropical fruit. For beer, he would go to Eastern Europe like Czech Republic, and for pork, he would fly to Denmark. Now, doesn't that sound a little bit suspicious? I mean, a lot of these items could have easily been picked up in a single market in Beijing or Tokyo, so why go through all the trouble of buying them halfway across the world? And here is my theory. Fujimoto may have been scamming the system, telling the general that every item had to be flown in from its authentic country of origin. And when in reality, it probably all came from the same market in Tokyo. And all that extra international travel costs, that will go straight into his pocket. And if you think about it, by the time that Denmark's porks got rerouted through Moscow and finally landed in Pyongyang, it could be 3 weeks later. And that pork is probably halfway spoiled. One day, out of nowhere, Kim Jong-il came up with one of his most ridiculous requests. He told Fujimoto, "You have got 2 days, go to Tokyo and buy me every single brand of Japanese cigarettes." Fujimoto panicked. He rushed to Beijing and then immediately called his supplier in Tokyo. "I need 1 pack of every Japanese cigarettes, all of them within 24 hours. He picked up the good and flew back to Pyongyang. And here's a fun fact. North Korean men are obsessed with smoking. I've heard some people who have been to Pyongyang told me that you won't find a single man on the street without a cigarette. In North Korea, they associate smoking with masculinity, meaning if you don't smoke, you are basically not considered as a real man. But here's the problem. Even the best North Korean cigarettes taste like garbage. The top local brand is called 727, named after July 27th, the date they celebrate their victory in the Korean War. Patriotic, yes. If the cigarette's smooth, not even close. So of course, Kim wasn't going to smoke that kind of garbage. Kim was a heavy smoker. His go-to brand was British-made Royal Rothmans. But he had never tried Japanese cigarettes before, so this was a little passion project. He wanted to sample them all. After sampling all the Japanese cigarettes Fujimoto brought back, Kim's favorite turns out to be menthols. Yep, the kind with a little flavor ball you pop. For general, it's minty and fancy. And that's really what Kim Jong-il loved the most. Stuff that looked fancy. Honestly, if this guy was born in New York, he would just be your typical middle-class tryhard. Riding a fixie to work, eating overpriced omasake, and showing up to yoga class in Lululemon pants like he's spiritually elevated. But nah, he was born to be a dictator. So instead of posting selfies at Disneyland, he had to put on this 24/7 act of being a wise and a powerful supreme leader. And that's exactly the tragedy of Kim Jong-il. A man obsessed with chasing Michelin star restaurant and wanted to go to Disneyland could never leave North Korea. For someone who ruled a country, Kim Jong-il had a taste of a guy who just discovered duty-free shopping for the first time. He once proudly took Fujimoto to his private wine cellar and told him that he has over 10,000 bottles of finest liquor. But when Fujimoto got there and took a look, he realized Kim's finest liquor collection was basically a Costco liquor store. The best bottle were like Johnny Walker and Hennessy. And by the way, they were not the collector's version, just the stuff you would find in any discount liquor stores in the United States. After seeing this, Fujimoto said, "General, even broke college students in Tokyo wouldn't drink this kind of stuff." But no, for a guy with emotional intelligence through the roof, he wouldn't say something like this. Instead, he nodded and said, "General, this is impressive, but I actually know of something even better. Have you ever heard of a Japanese whiskey brand called Suntory? That's what rich people drink in Japan. Kim was intrigued. Fujimoto continued, "Just give me $1 million and I will get you the best Suntory has to offer." So he did. He flew back to Japan. After pocketing $500,000, he stocked up on Suntory Imperial and brought it back to the palace. Kim took a sip and gave what might be the most North Korean review of all time. He said, "Wow, this one doesn't burn my throat or make me cough. It's so smooth." Fujimoto stood there nodding politely while thinking, hey, meanwhile in Japan, people talk about aroma, finish, oak, and this guy, just happy it doesn't make him cough. But for all the luxuries, the wine cellars, and the $1 million grocery runs, there was always a dark cloud hanging over the palace. Because underneath the laughs and lobster dinners, everyone lived in fear. One wrong move could mean execution, and the Fujimoto, he was caught right in the middle of it. In the next episode, let me show you what the life inside the palace really looked like when the mask came off. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, you guys got 10 minutes. Just go pick a girl and start making out. If I like what I see, she will marry you tomorrow. He reportedly sent the entire team to a labor camp to dig sweet potatoes for life. Kim replied, "This pen is actually a pistol. This is a Taiwanese-made pen gun. Are you here to assassinate me?"